From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
A new lease on life.
She only had weeks to live.
How another first involving genetically modified pigs helped save the life of one woman. The FDA releases new results of testing on the nation's milk supply as new testing rules go into effect to stop the spread of avian flu in dairy cattle. As the debate over electronic tagging of cattle goes on, USDA moves to finalize a rule.
So the cost of compliance that USDA put out with the proposed rule was about $26 million.
What industry leaders have to say about it right now on AgDay.
AgDay, presented by Pioneer. What's next happens when the name on the cap matches the power of one's purpose. Pioneer. What's next happens here.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. It's one of the most controversial issues recently in beef cattle, electronic ID tags. As we reported last week, the Office of Management and Budget has completed its review of a proposed USDA traceability rule. AgDay's Michelle Rooks spoke with the National Cattlemen's Beef Association about it. Michelle, leaders say this is all about preventing the spread of disease among cattle, but not all cattlemen agree.
That's right, Clinton. The benefits disease traceability provides the U.S. cattle industry is outweighing the concerns producers have had about electronic ID. Plus, USDA has tackled some of the hot button issues and is providing budget dollars to cover part of the cost of implementation. USDA's proposed cattle EID rule would mandate visually and electronically readable identification tags for cattle and bison, building on the original 2013 rule. This would enhance animal ID and traceability during disease outbreaks and allow quicker animal movement. For instance, an FMD outbreak would stop all cattle movement for 72 hours and trade for much longer.
The ability to get through that quickly, not repeat what we saw in 2003 with BSE, where you took months to have to unlock the supply chain, re-engage with our trading partners. The idea here is to have a quicker response and a quicker ability to isolate and unlock portions of the herd.
The mandatory nature of the proposal has sparked debate, as well as the cost. NCBA says if the program isn't voluntary, producers should not bear the expense, and this rule provides partial compensation.
So the cost of compliance that USDA put out with the proposed rule was about $26 million. What we were able to secure in the appropriations process was basically dedication of $15 million in existing APHIS funds towards tags and infrastructure for producers.
Lane says this EID rule also protects producers' privacy, requiring only essential data that won't be part of a national database that could be abused.
The fact that this rule calls for the state veterinarians to be warehousing that information, or the tagging veterinarian as a first line of defense, rather than the default being that national database at APHIS, is, in our opinion, a better use of that.
There are lingering concerns the rule can't accommodate future changes in ear tag technology, which could bring additional costs. The rule goes into effect in 6 months, and producers can use metal tags until then. I'm Michelle Rook reporting for AgDay.
All right, thanks, Michelle. In the dairy industry, researchers are continuing to work to stop the spread of avian flu in dairy cattle. The FDA continuing to test the nation's milk supply, releasing initial results of its study, saying late last week, 1 in 5 milk samples it looked at tested positive for signs of the virus. But scientists continue to say the risk to the general public is still low and milk on the shelves is safe to drink, attributing that to the pasteurization process. However, as researchers looking into this told us last week, results like this show the outbreak in dairy cows is more widespread than previously thought. Now, the industry putting in new mandatory testing requirements before lactating dairy cows can be moved. Those requirements going into effect today. Happening tomorrow, Reuters reporting the government will release guidance on what biofuels will qualify for sustainable aviation fuel tax credits based on an update to the GREET model. GREET stands for Greenhouse Gases Regulated Emissions and Energy Use in Transportation model. Now, it calculates emissions from ag practices used by farmers while producing biofuel feedstocks. It's key for the industry to see whether the fuel qualifies for an SAF fuel tax credit. Reuters reports the model was expected to be more restrictive than what the corn-based ethanol industry had expected. And a company that promises to be the first in the world to make sustainable aviation fuel from ethanol is moving closer to its goal. It's reported LanzaJet has raised roughly $100 million. Now, you'll remember we told you about the company when it opened a plant in Georgia earlier this year with a plan to produce 10 million gallons of SAF and renewable diesel each year. The business also announcing last week an investment from Microsoft's Climate Innovation Fund. In February, the company announced a $30 million investment from Southwest Airlines. After a rainy weekend across much of the Midwest, are sunny skies on the way to start this week? Meteorologist Martin Lormore has a look ahead.
Yeah, we have been encountering some of those storms throughout this weekend. Now, luckily, they will be calming down as we head into this work week. Still seeing a handful of those scattered thunderstorms for our Monday morning. This will continue on, losing that intensity as it travels both south and east. Still seeing more of this rain making its way across parts of the mid-Atlantic and even into New England. Still seeing additional showers trying to make their way across parts of the northern and central plains. But luckily, again, a lot of this rain and storms that have been across our region for this weekend have moved on. Could be seeing a couple snowflakes up to those higher elevations in the Rockies. Still continuing with this next system that again could bring some more of that snow across parts of Montana into Wyoming and Idaho, maybe stretching down into parts of northern Utah. Still seeing this next system again bringing rain. Luckily not as severe for our late part of our work week, but still watching for more of that rainfall. Definitely will be more likely pausing some planting, but still keeping us away from the drought for most of the center part of the nation. And we can't forget that's also planting time for our neighbors in the north. Michael Bratton of Langbank, Saskatchewan, giving the thumbs up, saying that he's gotten it started with a message saying safe seeding everyone. Safe seeding to you too, Michael. We'll have more in your forecast coming up.
Another new rule announced last week, this time from the Labor Department regarding the H-2A program. It announced a final rule it says will strengthen protections for farm workers, adding new protections when it comes to self-advocacy, including the right to invite guests, including labor organizations, to their employer-furnished housing. It clarifies for-cause termination, giving workers the right to 3/4 of their payment in a work contract unless they are terminated for cause. It also improves transportation safety, requiring workers to wear a seatbelt, prevents labor exploitation and human trafficking, along with ensuring employer accountability. The rule is due to take effect at the end of June. In World Ag News, Ukraine's agriculture minister was taken into custody as part of a corruption probe. Mykola Solsky is accused of being involved in illegally seizing land worth more than $7 million from 2017 to 2018. This is before he became the ag minister. Now, he denies the allegations but resigned last week. He was released on bail. He is the country's highest official to be accused of corruption by a court since Russia's invasion of Ukraine back in 2022. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping and senior officials in Beijing last week. Blinken said the U.S. and China are seeking to deepen cooperation where interests align, but that the U.S. is clear-eyed about their competing visions for the future. He also met with Beijing's foreign minister.
I look forward in these discussions to being very clear, very direct about the areas where we have differences and where the United States stands. And I have no doubt you will do the same on behalf of China. But I underscore again, it's important that we do that. Important to demonstrate that we're managing responsibly the most consequential relationship, I think, for both of us in the world.
Blinken said he raised concerns with Xi about China's support for Russia and its invasion of Ukraine, as well as other issues, including Taiwan and the South China Sea. Wheat tries to rally into the weekend as rain is forecast for the Midwest. We'll talk markets and what to expect this week coming up next in Markets Now. And later, doctors continue to experiment with gene-edited pigs as a solution for human organ transplants. We'll see the latest attempt in New York in the country. USDA says South Texas citrus is under attack from fruit flies. It says Texas citrus in the lower Rio Grande Valley is at risk of being infested by them, and it's sending out inspectors to check fruit trees in people's yards and commercial properties for them. And they're asking for people living in the area to help by cooperating with surveys and by taking steps to keep the flies off of fruit trees in their yards. You can see there are already several areas under quarantine in Texas because of fruit flies. The Texas State Plant Health Director laying out what's at stake, saying commercial citrus brought in more than $66 million in revenue to the state last year. USDA issuing a final rule that will impact poultry producers, requiring them to bring salmonella bacteria in certain chicken products to very low levels in an effort to help prevent food poisoning. Under the rule, salmonella would be considered a contaminant that can cause foodborne illness. The new rule will apply only to raw breaded stuffed chicken products, which make up less than 0.15% of the U.S. chicken supply. The CDC estimates salmonella poisoning accounts for more than 1.3 million infections and about 420 deaths each year, with food as a source for most of those illnesses. Now, the poultry industry not welcoming the rules, arguing the government already has tools to ensure product safety and that companies have invested in methods to cut salmonella in raw chicken. The rule set to take effect next year. Chicago wheat tops its 200-day moving average on Friday. What's behind the strong rally and where are markets headed? Michelle Rook has more in Markets Now.
Grain and livestock futures ending mixed on Friday. Darren Fry with Water Street Solutions is with us. Darren, I want to talk about the grains because while we closed mixed on Friday, we had higher weekly closes and everything led by the wheat market. Can we keep going here?
Well, the whole complex has been led higher by wheat. Soybeans haven't been that stellar, and certainly corn has had a few good days. After a week ago, Thursday, when Israel attacked Iran, we saw the grains move up Monday, Tuesday after that Friday reversal. But they haven't done much the rest of the week. Wheat has. And today we saw Chicago kind of run into some resistance up around that 630, 635 area and reverse pretty good. So it didn't have the best close. Kansas City, however, did close well. And if we're going to go higher, I think Kansas City has to lead us out of here. Chicago looks a little bit tired right now.
Yeah. And as you mentioned, corn and soybeans still pretty range bound. We can't take out the top end of the trading ranges. Do you think eventually we will if wheat keeps moving higher, or is there something else that could be the catalyst for it?
Well, I think wheat won't hurt if it keeps moving higher, but I have kind of my doubts. I think all the wheat classes have kind of run pretty hard. They're, 70, 80 cents off the lows, and so we should see them pull back at some point. But I think it's going to come down to the WASDE report here in a couple weeks when we see what USDA says about South America. And of course, we got to watch the planting progress. It's way too early to have a problem yet, but we're going to get a lot of rain over the next few days, and it's going to push the planters out of the field until the early part of May. And then we got to see what the action is, getting those planters back in the field, getting planting progress going. But it's too early to talk about planting delays. But hey, if we're still doing this May 10th, May 15th, maybe that's the things that sends corn higher.
And cattle ended with new highs for the move on Friday with a better cash trade. Can we continue to move higher in that market?
I think we can. It'll be important to see what cash does this week. We did get good closes last Friday. I was looking for the June to close over that 178.80 mark. They didn't quite do that. But we did see them close over the 100-bar moving average. They had great action on Thursday, that reversal, as we did see cash move higher. And then, of course, Friday they had follow-through. So I'm optimistic.
Thanks so much, Darren, for Water Street Solutions. We'll have more AgDay coming up. Watch Markets Now with Michelle Rook on the Farm Journal YouTube channel, keeping you updated throughout the day on the markets at the open, midday, and close. Find out what moved the markets today and what to expect the market to do next.
We're starting off your weather with a look at the jet stream. Still seeing this next low pressure making its way from the Pacific Northwest. This will bring in some more rain and showers across the center part of the country as we head into our middle to late part of our work week. So as this low digs its way into the atmosphere, you'll see this little part of that low swinging its way across the Rockies and bringing it into the central and northern plains. This will bring some more of those rain showers across parts of the center part of the country that have already seen plenty of rainfall. So the possibility of a little bit of isolated flooding in some of these areas that have already seen some of that rainfall, especially out towards parts of Oklahoma, Arkansas, Kansas, and Missouri that have seen several inches from those strong to severe thunderstorms this weekend. Could see additional rainfall. This low will continue to move its way across as we're expecting more of that precipitation just all this week. Look at that. So much rain is going to be expected throughout this week. Widespread 1 to 2 inches across most of the area. Pockets of up to 3 all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico. So plenty of this rain will be expected all the way, also stretching a widespread inch across most of the Great Lakes, even up into the mid-Atlantic and the southern New England region. So overall, a very wet next couple of days as we're going to be starting up that May. I know a lot of you have been holding off that planting because it's been so wet, and unfortunately we're not going to be seeing that coming leaving us anytime soon as we head into that first couple of days of your May. So just keep a watch out, but we are going to be noticing temperatures will be warm, about 10-15 degrees above average for most of us sitting in this area of red. So just keep on the watch as you're expecting some very warm temperatures as we head into this next couple of days. Things looking very good in the middle of the country when it comes to that drought monitor. Only place seeing exceptional drought as of right now is still in that part of southeast New Mexico. Moab, Utah, nice day, mostly sunny, high of 76 degrees. Glens Falls, New York, a little bit cooler, still looking good, high 67, partly cloudy conditions. And finally, Langdon, North Dakota, seeing some snow showers, high 44.
Up next, Machinery Pete treks north for a look at equipment prices. And later, a new direction for organ transplants as another patient receives a kidney from a gene-edited pig. We'll have details in the country. Used tractor prices aren't just hot in America. Machinery Pete takes a look at prices in the Great White North.
Well, folks, our busiest auction month here in the U.S. I've always thought is March. Now, our good friends up north across the border in Canada, they're a month behind us. April, it's always been their busiest month of auctions. I tell you what, they've had some amazing sales here, April of 2024. Particularly good used tractors selling very well. Now, let me show you 3 examples. Let's start off with a sale April 9th in Alvinston, Ontario. This 2004 John Deere 8220, 2,316 hours on it. Sold for $141,713 when converted into U.S. funds. And folks, that's the second highest auction price ever on a John Deere 8220. And that sale is by Sunrise Equipment Auctions. Now more recently, let's hop up to a sale April 20th up near Orangeville, Ontario, a farm auction where this John Deere 7710, very nice condition, 2,485 hours on it. Sold for $115,774 US. And that actually is an all-time record high auction price on a 7710. The previous record was $112,000 on a sale in Lenox, South Dakota back about Thanksgiving time, November of 22. And I'll leave you with this one, folks, an Alice Chalmers 8050. Now this sold on an April 23rd consignment auction in Yorkton, Saskatchewan. Had only 1,995 hours on it and sold for $30,295 US. And that is the 6th highest auction price ever on an Alice 8050.
All right, thanks, Pete. Up next, a miraculous medical innovation takes place in New York. Another patient receives a transplant from a gene-edited pig. We'll hear from her next. It's another first in the world of surgery, the transplant of a gene-edited pig kidney along with a mechanical heart pump was completed last week on a 54-year-old woman who had no other medical options. Mandy Gaither has more from the patient and what this surgery may mean for the future of treating chronic diseases.
When that opportunity first came to me, I was like, I gotta try it.
From her bed in the intensive care unit at NYU Langone, Lisa Pisano says she's optimistic about the outcome of her surgery, which combined a mechanical heart pump and a transplant of a gene-edited pig kidney.
I feel the best I've felt in a long time.
Pisano said she'd exhausted all other medical resources. She had heart failure and end-stage kidney disease, but couldn't have a standard heart or kidney transplant due to other chronic medical conditions and the overall lack of donor organs in the U.S.
She only had weeks to live.
Dr. Robert Montgomery, who led the surgery, says the gene-edited pig kidney was a match and an immediately available organ option.
We didn't know if it would work, but we had circumstantial evidence to believe that it would, and it did.
Experts say xenotransplants, which put animal organs into people, are crucial to solving the organ shortage. Gene editing also allows for precise edits to a pig's DNA to help keep the human body from recognizing the animal's organs as foreign and rejecting them. While Pisano has a long way to go, her doctor says she's doing well.
The worst case scenario, if it doesn't work, it might work for the next person. At least somebody's going to benefit from it.
Now, the first living recipient of a gene-edited pig kidney is 62-year-old Rick Slayman. He received the organ at Massachusetts General Hospital in March. He was able to go home this month. And that's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in. From all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Purvis. Have a great day.